I'm not big on MMORPGs. Despite really loving regular old RPGs, the repetitive nature of most MMOs just bored me. Add that to the fact that I didn't exactly grow up with a computer, so that was another hurdle for even trying. I never even tried World of Warcraft. I got a laptop at some point, and so my first MMO experience was Elsword, a 2D game where you pick a character and go around grinding, and I'm bored. This one never really clicked with me. I tried Alchemia Story, mostly because it had a mobile version, but if I may be honest, the story was boring. The gameplay was okay, I mostly liked it because the character customization was very good, so I could be a wizard with a staff and a big hat. Some things never change. Eventually, I got bored of this one too, and I tried Tora Online by the same company and got immediately bored. It was repetitive, grindy, the story was somewhere, I assume. I did play Sky, but that's not a very traditional MMO, it's a very unique cooperative experience. You know, maybe it was my fault. Maybe these games are actually trash and I should have picked, I don't know, World of Warcraft, EverQuest, or Wizard 101. I remember being interested in that one growing up. Never even tried it. I think one of my main problems with these MMOs and MMO adjacent games I played growing up, I had a previously established idea of what an RPG should look like. I had played games like Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, Threads of Fate, Lunar Legend, Ni no Kuni, White Knight Chronicles, Golden Sun, the list goes on. These games had a very clear line of progression and a story that built on at a nice pace. Everything I did felt like it mattered. It had weight story-wise or gameplay-wise. With MMOs, at least the ones that I played, it didn't feel like that. Sometimes the whole game would just come to a halt in favor of grinding, and I get it, you know, it's a massive game, literally built to keep you playing forever, makes sense. There's nothing wrong with that, it just wasn't for me, or at least it didn't feel like it was. However, one fateful day, two of my friends bullied me into convinced me to try out Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. Now I knew about this game, I had been interested in checking it out for a very long time, especially now that I had a good gaming PC. But alas, it was an MMORPG and that was kinda stopping me. But eventually I decided, you know what? Screw it. I'll pick it up and stream my first experience with it. And despite the fact that I spent 90% of the stream just lost, walking in circles, not knowing how menus work, and falling off the edge of the world, I had a lot of fun. And so after that day, Final Fantasy XIV became my comfort game. And I believe it could be yours too. I think this is a very good MMORPG for people who don't really care for MMORPGs, as weird as that sounds. I think it has to do with the fact that the game is sorta formatted like a more classic style RPG meant for solo play. The main story quests, or MSQ for short, can all be done by yourselves. You don't depend on a party to do them. It's all solo content until the dungeons are thrown into the mix, which means you don't need to socialize, mostly. I would still highly recommend playing with friends, it makes the journey more fun anyways. But let's talk about the game itself. From the perspective of someone who, again, is not that much into MMOs, what's the game like? What's good? What sucks? Oh, and in case somehow you don't know, the game has a free trial that lasts all the way up to Shadowbringers. I believe that's the third expansion. There are no time restrictions. I mean, just check out my gameplay hours. That's a lot for me. There are some downsides to having a free trial, but I'll explain that as I go. Let's start with the gameplay. one way to start a game. Character creation is pretty good. You got a fair number of humanoid races to pick, each with their own in-world history. Sometimes you even get treated differently depending on your race. Just like real life. You got height sliders, color sliders, muscle sliders, breast sliders, a fair amount of hairstyles and the like. If you don't like the list, later in the game you can do this quest called Beauty is Only Scalp Deep, where you meet this eccentric esthetician and you can unlock more hairstyles and the ability to change them at any time using this bell while you're resting at an inn, alongside other basic aspects of your character. Race, height, and other more physical attributes can only be changed later by using a special item called Fantasia. You can buy this with the real money, sadly, but you get 2 freebies. The first one is by finishing a side quest called Bottled Fantasy in one of the starting towns called Uda, and the second one is for finishing the main story of A Realm Reborn. So if you feel like making changes later, you got some leeway in case you really wanted to be a cat girl all along. Square Enix knows who you are.
Meow meow. Meow.
All races have different stats. Let me just say immediately, their stats don't matter. These stats get basically overwritten by your class or job, and the differences don't really matter, so don't stress over stat maxim. Just focus on making the character you want and express yourself. As an MMORPG, the game asks of you teamwork. Now again, if you have never played an MMO but have played RPGs before, this won't be so complicated. You are basically just playing a regular RPG where you get to pick one class and everyone else controls the rest. Now, classes are decided by actions and roles. We got gathering classes, known as the Disciples of the Land, Fisher, Miner, Botanist. We got crafting classes known as Disciples of the Hand, Carpenter, Blacksmith, Armorer, Goldsmith, Leatherworker, Weaver, Alchemist, and Culinarian. Then we got combat classes. The Disciples of War are physical hitters like Gladiator, Pugilist, Marauder, Lancer, Archer, and Rogue. Then we got the Disciples of Magic, my personal favorite. I wonder why. We got Conjurer, Thaumaturge, and Arcanist. Combat classes are also divided further by roles. These are very important since they will decide how are you gonna tackle dungeons with your teammates. Tanks like the Marauder are meant to attract enemy aggro. You keep the party alive by getting hit by literally everything. Since you are the only party member that can take a hit, this might be one of the scariest classes to use for newcomers since tanks usually go front and lead the dungeon runs. Now healers, a class I have more experience with, is meant to keep everyone alive, especially that tank that is being torn apart by 40 enemies at once because he thinks he can totally handle it. Sometimes I just feel like letting them die. Yep, the best part about being a healer is that you can just let everyone die if you feel like it. Please don't do that unless you are with friends. Now, just because you are a healer doesn't mean that you are meant to just heal. Everyone in this game has DPS options. In case of my pick, Conjurer, which eventually becomes White Mage, you can use Aero to cause continuous damage, then use Presence of Mind to temporarily increase your casting time, and spam Stone. If you are fighting a bunch of enemies, you can spam Holy, which can also cause paralysis, extremely useful. Enemies do become resistant to status effects as you keep using them, so eventually paralysis will last less and less till it doesn't do anything. But still, it's a great crowd control option, and it's always fun to flashbang your fellow players on the other side of the monitor, leaving them with the blind status effect. DPS classes are, well, the damage dealers, and they are also subdivided because, of course, they are. We got physical DPS like the Lancer, one I actually tried. These get up close and personal. We got the ranged DPS like the Archer, which attack from afar, and the one I main, which is the magical ranged DPS. Because what did you expect from a long-eared short king with a giant pointy hat and glasses? I main the Arcanist, which eventually can become a summoner and do cool shit like this. Every class has what they like to call a rotation, basically an order in which you use your skills for maximum efficiency. You can always look up a guide if it's too much, but Final Fantasy XIV is very good at giving you your skills very slowly so that you can read what they do and get familiar with your abilities. Some towns also have these dummies you can target and practice your rotations on. Final Fantasy XIV is a very popular game, so if you don't understand something, trust me, the community has already made a YouTube video about it. Some important things to keep in mind as new players is that every few levels, usually every 5 levels during a Realm Reborn, you will get a class quest. It will appear under your main quest bar. Try to do this whenever you can. They give you skills and even job armor later on. It is how you unlock job stones. You may have noticed I said things like Conjurer turns into White Mage or Arcanist turns into Summoner. That's because as you reach level 30, you will get a job stone. By equipping it, you can access a job that will be more advanced than your starting classes. Some are also extra jobs that are not linked to any class and start at like very odd levels like level 30 or level 50. Some of the jobs are gonna be locked behind your level, others behind expansions. Like for example, one that I wanna try is the Pictomancer. You know, like Realm from Final Fantasy VI. That one is locked behind Down Trail, so you know, pay up. Speaking of expansions, you don't buy the expansions separately, you only buy the most recent one. For example, if you buy Evercold right now, it comes with Down Trail included. And you don't need to access it immediately. You can keep the key and then decide when to use it and start paying the monthly fee. That being said, this game gives you an insane amount of content for free, so please play as much as you can for free. And then when you are ready, buy the expansion and pay the fee. Once you upgrade to the full version, you can't go back to a free trial on that account. It is a permanent change. Trust me, I've been playing for a long time for free. Don't waste your money. Wait till you run out of main content at the very least. If you are a Switch 2 user, you also don't need to pay for the Switch Online subscription, which is pretty great. Speaking of monthly fees, let's talk about the disadvantages of the free trial. Firstly, you have a limited inventory. Normally it doesn't matter much, but if you decide to be a gatherer or a crafter, it becomes a problem. Since you are dependent on having a bunch of stuff on you, the subscription gives you access to retainers, NPCs that keep your items stored outside of your main bag. Not only that, but crafters make the most out of their skills by selling stuff to other players in the market. Free trial users don't get access to the market. Free trial users also can't form parties. They need someone who does pay the fee to make the party for them. They also can't trade items with other players and have a max geo cap of 300k, which really sucks. Since in late game you'll max out and every penny you get after the max just disappears into the void. I would complain except for the fact that there are workarounds some of these restrictions, and also we get a lot of game for free, so we good. I should say later down the line you get a Chocobo ride, pretty cool. The Chocobo also has a bag that works as a extra inventory space, so make sure to get some mileage out of that. Before we move on to other things, let's talk about limited jobs. So far, as of the writing of this video, you will only have access to one limited job, that being the Blue Mage. But as Evercold gets closer, we will also get access to the Beastmaster, so Blue Mage finally gets to have a friend. Limited classes are special. They aren't allowed in regular dungeons because they are broken. If you don't believe me, look at this shit I can do with Blue Mage. Yeah. Blue Mage is pretty interesting but a frustrating class. Like in the other Final Fantasy games, you can learn moves from your enemies, making it the most versatile class in the game. This also means you start with nothing but the one move, and no matter how much you level up, you will get nothing. Your skills are exclusively obtained from overworld enemies, dungeon enemies, raid bosses, and totems you get for reaching thresholds. The only way to go into a dungeon with a Blue Mage is to have a party with your friends or go in solo with an unrestricted party option so that you can keep your level. Usually on dungeons, if you are over level, your level and gear stats are dropped down to the current dungeon cap for balancing purposes. But when you are on unrestricted mode, you stay on your level, plus you also get a boost that increases your HP. You can also use a free roam option to explore the dungeons without enemies. You can bring your mount, summon a dummy, and even spam your limit break, which is a super attack you can use on dungeons once the bar is filled and the circumstances are met. Check the Summoner's one out. Damn! One or more miscellaneous stuff I think you should know. Your mount can fight? Yeah, that's right. Your chocobo ride can level up. You can assign it skills and all. Heck, soon you will even be able to bring it into dungeons, which is great, especially for Blue Mage and just solo dungeoning in general. Your mount can later on fly, which feels absolutely amazing. At first you just unlock it as the story progresses, but later you're gonna have to find these air currents all over the maps to unlock it. A good incentive for exploration, if a little frustrating sometimes. You can have different mounts for stylish points. Each one comes with a unique song, like I have this one that makes even the most mundane task sound like a hardcore epic event. This game has peak music, by the way, from classic Final Fantasy arrangements to original tracks. You'll find some favorites here. If you do get tired of your mount being a radio, because it ruins the mood, you can also turn off the music, so keep that in mind. Eventually you will also unlock minions, small little guys that just follow you around being all cute. They are pretty neat. Some are dungeon drops, so watch out for dungeon rewards. My favorites are the Wizard from Pogo, because of course, and the Hero of Light, which alternates between the Final Fantasy I Black Mage, Warrior, or White Mage. I actually own a code for an airship minion. I got it from the official art book, but I can't use it because it requires a subscription in-game. This game also has layer equipment called glamours, meaning you can turn equipment that looks good but has terrible stats into stuff that make you look good. You just need these glamour prisms you can easily buy from these companies. You unlock this in the main story as you progress, so don't worry about it. You literally can't miss them. You can also craft them if you have a crafting class with the proper level. Cast a glamour over some equipment or save it in your In's glamour dresser. You can have up to 20 preset ones and change them at will, just like your jobs. You can set jobs to this window over here with all the equipment you wanted to have, and equip your set whenever you want to quickly change jobs, as long as you are not in a dungeon or engaged in combat. Oh, you can get married in this game. Yeah, you heard me. There is a whole place for it. You need to make a reservation in real life hours, send invitations for real people to show up. I've never been to one, but it's like a whole thing. Oh, an early recommendation for newcomers. 2 quests you should really do are the quest It Could Happen to You, which unlocks the gold saucer. Yep, from Final Fantasy VII. You can do a fair amount of mini games here, like chocobo racing, a card game, and even get some exclusive gear. It's a good distraction and a game in its own right. There is also like PvP and big war events. I haven't really done any of them. PvP sounds scary. Honestly, there is so much content in this game, I can't even talk about all of it. Heck, I haven't even experienced most of it, it's insane. The other quest you really need to do is another one called Rise and Fall of Gentleman. Don't look it up, just do it. It's one of those things that I think is better if you experience it blind. Trust me, that chain of quests is very fun. Just take my word for it. Speaking of quests, these are subdivided. We got the main story quest represented by the moon that destroyed the world. Do never forget. Blue quests, which are very important. These ones unlock extra dungeons, features, important side stories, jobs, raids, and important rewards. So try to do them as much as you can whenever you got time. Some later blue quests are also locked behind previous blue quests, so be careful not to sleep on these. Regular quests are displayed by a regular yellow symbol. There's also quests that have like these repeated arrows going in circles, and the leap quests, which are also repeatable special quests for grinding, represented by these gray cards. This game also has these things called fates. You will have probably a very complicated love-hate relationship with them. Fates are special events that happen at regular intervals around the world, from like big bosses to enemy crowd control, helping an NPC cross the road and stuff like that. that they aren't necessary but are good options for grinding, getting some items, and also achievements. Oh yeah, this game has achievements too, which gives you this special currency you can exchange for special rewards. I should say the reason why you might have like a bit of a complicated relationship with fates is that sometimes they appear in the most inconvenient places while you're in the middle of a quest, and it's particularly annoying. Which yeah, I think that's the reason why you might end up having a bit of a love-hate relationship with fates. There are also these ally society quests. In this world there are like beast tribes that are friendly and you can become friends with them. They will provide you with special quests. You can only do 12 a day, so they're basically like dailies. Still, if you increase your reputation with a given beast tribe, you get special exclusive items and even mounts from their shops. It's also very nice to get to meet all these creatures. It really puts into perspective that yeah, not all these creatures are evil. Even among them there's like division, different perspectives and cultural differences. Some of them mean well, and it's nice to see that there's like a gray area instead of the typical RPG stick of all monsters are evil, just go hunt them, you know? Sometimes when dungeoning and questing, you will also get these orchestrion papers. If you use them from the item menu, you will unlock a song that you can listen to while in your room back at the inns. So keep those in mind. Kinda like the minions, a lot of them are dungeon drops. I should also say bosses, especially raid bosses, will start getting more complicated with gimmicks and attack patterns that you might have to memorize, but fear not. Final Fantasy XIV does not leave you unprepared. These NPCs with this sprout symbol have a few training quests you can do that will teach you how your role works in battle, all the way to how to avoid boss attack areas, the patterns and the like, getting you ready for all of those dungeons and raid battles, so that you at least know what you're doing. So if you're new, I would highly recommend you checking it out, because at some point bosses will start using a lot of complicated patterns, so it will do you some well to at least understand how a lot of the gimmicks work. So about the story, and this is a big one. Final Fantasy XIV truly cares about its story, and trust me when I say, if you try to ignore it and just smash through all of the dialogue, you will have a terrible time. This is still an MMO, meaning the game still has a bunch of, I'm just gonna say it, boring and repetitive quests. From going from one NPC to the next, picking stuff up from the floor very slowly, hunting mobs, scouting, doing menial tasks. If you try to speedrun just to get to the latest expansion, you will have a terrible time. Now, as the expansions go on, and I'm currently in Stormblood post-game, the questing does get better and more interesting. They add more variety, goofy moments, combat encounters. They even reuse dungeons in like clever ways for like solo adventures, but it's not all that much. The story is the hook. Thankfully, it's a very good one. Final Fantasy XIV is very good at tying everything together and making you feel like you matter. Even random background NPCs will remember you and talk about the current events of the world. Your actions will be brought up in conversations, old allies will make comebacks and remember you. It's actually very funny when you don't remember who they are and you get the option to just tell them directly that you don't recognize them. This game is so tightly written. One time, I did a series of side quests on a town called the Silver Bazaar, a small merchant area that has been struggling to stay afloat, especially since the rich people of Ul'dah have been trying their best to just ruin the place, buy it for cheap, and then build their own capitalist empires on top of it. After I ran the jerks out, the people from the town were very grateful. I thought to myself after that, well, that was a nice side quest storyline. I guess it's over. But guess what? During a quest line of the post-game of Heavensward, of all things, we got to go there, and I needed to get some information from the townsfolk. Now, I have no idea how the conversation would have gone if I hadn't done any previous side quests, but because the Sora Chief Kikipu knew who I was and was so grateful for what I did, she just gave me the info I needed, no questions asked. I mean, we are friends after all. I thought that was so great. I never expected a side quest I did in a Realm Reborn to go and affect the main story in any way, but it did. And Final Fantasy XIV is filled with moments like this, which is why I think it would be a massive disservice to yourself ignoring the story. It's a very good story and it respects your time. Now that being said, the first half of A Realm Reborn is, the base game. It's very rough. But first, some background story. Long ago, in the year of 2010, Final Fantasy XIV came out, and according to the ancients, it was ass. The game was a commercial failure, but Square Enix opted to not give up on it, so instead they assigned a new team to take all the scraps and make art out of it, and hence Final Fantasy XIV was reborn. Oh, I get it now. The way they went about it was also pretty great. The moon fell from the sky and then a mighty dragon Bahamut arose and laid waste to the land of Eosia, right in the middle of a massive war against the Garlean Empire. This event caused such a tremendous calamity that it changed the landscape forever. Some places' climate even got permanently changed. It was a whole thing. If you were an OG player, you got sent 5 years into the future, and even though everyone forgot about the Heroes of Light, some people still sorta remember. So these players sort of got a sort of nudge, wink wink, thank you for being there at our worst, we will never forget kinda moment, which I guess is kinda nice for them specifically. Otherwise, if you're a new player, your character starts in the post-event 5 years after the Bahamut calamity, in a world still recovering from that terrible event. Yeah, again, that's one way to both end the game and start the game. It is honestly amazing. The game could have just been rebooted, but no, instead they just had this insane event trigger the end and new beginning of the franchise in a way that's now permanently a part of the world's history. I don't think I know a single game that has ever done this. One of the coolest things about this whole event is that players could just sit back in the last days of the original Final Fantasy XIV and count the hours as they saw Dallamud, the Red Moon, slowly fall down in the horizon. This is genuinely amazing. If you like fantasy, and I'm not just talking about Final Fantasy, I'm talking about fantasy in general, this is definitely a must play. Now that you have the full context though, let's talk about some downsides. Because A Realm Reborn was so quickly put together, and the emphasis was very clearly the gameplay, that the story ended up having very odd pacing. The first few hours are very slow, and while very good at introducing you to the world slowly, it's very overwhelming, text heavy, and also very bad at making you know what to even care about. I don't want to call it bad because it's not. There are a lot of moments in the base game that are very good, epic battles against primals, fun characters, and some nice twists, but I wouldn't call it amazing. And I think it's important to mention this because people are gonna hype this game so much, and it would be very sad for people to go in with these insane expectations only to be immediately disappointed. Note this though, the story only gets better and it really respects your time and investment, and when all the things you have experienced start coming back together and you connect all the dots, it feels great. I personally would recommend playing this game the same way I would treat a cozy game. Take your time, don't rush, forget about the latest expansion, enjoy the journey. And if the story is getting overwhelming and you need a break, go fishing, hang out at the Gold Saucer, grind a bit, maybe try out a new class or job, hang out with friends, go get glamour gear and have some fun making fashion choices. Do some side questing, or stop playing the game for some time. When you feel like getting back, tackle the story again. On the other side of that conversation, I should also say, careful with this game. Especially if you're new to MMOs, it can be very addictive. God help me. Depending on what class you pick, you get sent to one of the 3 main cities, Oda, Gridania, or the one where I ended on, which was Limsa Lominsa, a big island to the west ruled by pirates attempting to build a kingdom. Very interesting stuff. The other 2 don't stay behind. I would have gladly chosen Gridania with its connection to the spirits and the forest is my kind of place. Oda is more politically charged with sultanates, a war between the poor, the working classes, and the rich. Some people even suggest starting with Oda, since the events of the post-game are heavily connected to Oda. You will have a bigger attachment if it was your starting city, which I guess is a fair argument, but just pick what you want, honestly. They all have fair fun moments and you get to know the remaining 2 cities later either way. It's not that important. Like I mentioned before, the main story quest is solo stuff, and it comes together with a very baffling decision. Once you enter a solo instance, you need to disband your party. why? I don't know. Like, why can't your character just stay in the party and just not be able to interact otherwise? It makes playing through the story with friends annoying for no reason. I hope it's something they fix in the future. This game is also like a love letter to Final Fantasy as a whole. Without spoiling like what I would consider to be big ones, there are some like small nods. At some point in the game, you join this group of rebels called the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. They are trying to like unite the nations to fight the Orlean Empire as best as they can, as a sort of resistance. Very Final Fantasy II. Something that is massively exemplified by the fact that their code word for identifying members is Wild Rose, straight out of Final Fantasy II. At some point you even get to meet Matoya based on her counterpart from Final Fantasy I, and we even get to see her crystal eye, which in this game's lore is how the crystals used to look back when they were more powerful, a reference to how in the original Final Fantasy I, the original version, the crystals were originally orbs. Heck, even the crystal tower is back, and it's like actually good now. If you are a fan of Final Fantasy, this is just great fan service implemented in a very organic way that doesn't feel like it's, too much or like forced in, and I definitely appreciate it. But even if you don't play Final Fantasy, this is just a great fantasy world with great characters and a very well crafted story, good gameplay, an insanely huge world, and I mean huge. I haven't even seen what the full map looks like, but like as it looks like right now, it already looks insane. And I have a whole other continent to unlock yet. What the hell? This is just a great game, and the fact you can play it all the way to Shadowbringers for free is insane. So whether you are a new player on any of the systems that already have it, or most likely a Switch 2 player considering it, I hope you found this video useful. I hope I set your expectations right, and hopefully I get to see you around in Eorzea. This has been Joshua, the Media Alchemist. Like and subscribe if you feel like it. Thanks for watching and have a magical day.